3 points. The opportunity of this initiative. The opportunity for young people, for women, and for decent work, a life of dignity. I think here, keep underscoring how this is going to connect lives. And those lives that we talk about in many of our rural areas, energy won't happen on its own. And this really is an imperative for us for peace. Down the road, we have many conflicts around on this continent, and if we can't power up people's lives, that they can engage with activities other than the conflict that we see around the continent, we will not see peace, so we will not see the silencing of the guns. It is also for climate action, as I said earlier, and then we have this whole new face of the critical minerals. And the critical minerals report that the UN produced just recently showed the opportunity and a better way, a set of principles and recommendations that will allow Africa to profit, as the world will, from the critical minerals that we will produce over the next few years. I believe, secondly, that there are 4 areas that we need to focus on, and we will hear from our panelists next, so I won't go into any great detail, but I think that we need to emphasize how important it is to connect the policy environment with the regulatory. Often we get the policies right, and very often we forget that the regulatory environment, the laws that are required, have not only to pass through our institutions, but also our lawmakers. And that sometimes can take a really long time. So while you're thinking about 5 years, our former vice president is sitting on the front row, what took us back was realizing how expensive and how long it took to put the laws through in governments to have that enabling environment for the investors to come along. So as we support countries, let's support this piece of connecting the policy and the regulatory environment. The second are the pipelines, and if we really think about the pipelines that need to be designed for this, let's not just talk about energy. What is energy going to connect? And we heard from Ajay, we heard from Akin. It is important that we see food systems at the helm of all of this, and that they are powered by the energy that you will connect, because where we are producing food today is in those rural areas. That's where we're going to connect with women and with young people and excite them about the connectivity to power, but also to technology. With that comes financial services for women. It comes extension work that you don't have to go to a school that is physical, it can be online, but it also opens up the opportunity for e-commerce that we've seen all around the place. So having connectivity, having technology, the food systems is really important. It will, of course, power social protection floors that we need, and we will see that it will address the climate challenges that we have. These pipelines are not something we've done very well. So here I'd like to commend the leadership of Ajay in setting the bank in place when he says he wants a more efficient bank and he wants it to connect with what has to be done. That is also a message to the UN and the capacities we have on ground. Those skill sets have to change. They have to change to give better policy advice, to design not tiny little projects, but huge programs that will actually connect people to industry and to the economy itself. So I hope that we can begin to put that surge capacity in place more immediately, because 5 years is going to go really quickly.
But just to reiterate what Mission 300 is about, it is underpinned by 5 pillars. The first, and you heard a lot about it earlier on, is efficiently rehabilitating and expanding our power systems based on least cost power expansion planning principles. We also want to leverage on increased regional integration, and we want to embrace distributed renewable energy and clean cooking solutions. We also want to see increased private sector participation in the energy sector. And finally, we want to ensure the financial viability of our power utilities. These pillars must, however, be held and interwoven together by policies that will constitute the glue that creates a cohesive enabling environment that will attract public and private investments at the speed and scale that is commensurate with the goals of Mission 300. But that we have reported 600 million people as lacking access to electricity for a long time, I do believe since 2019, and that 1 billion people are without access to clean cooking solutions in a continent that is home to 20% of the world's population and about a similar proportion of landmass, in addition to being endowed with abundant energy resources, including 60% of the best solar potential, suggests that it is the high time that we undertook progressive and deep-seated energy sector reforms. Business as usual will simply not do, as this has only been able to currently marshal 4% of global energy investments and a mere 2% of renewable energy investments. Transformative reforms are a must. This is because experience shows that reforms yield handsome dividends. For example, reforms that started here in Tanzania in 2018 have dramatically improved the financial stability of the power utility here at TANESCO and reduced power system losses to only 14%. While in Morocco and Egypt, reforms have underpinned significant private sector investments in generation, such as the 510 megawatt Nur Wazizate in Morocco, which is the world's largest CSP project, the 1,800 megawatt Ben Ban project in Egypt. Such reforms have spurred spectacular growth in Rwanda's electricity access, increasing access from a mere 10% to over 75% over the last decade, and is on target to achieve universal access to electricity by 2030. Similarly, thanks to concerted reform efforts, electricity access in Cote d'Ivoire has surged from 23% in 2013 to 64% in 2024. The strong correlation between the level and quality of reforms with electricity access is further corroborated by the fact that the top performers in the African Development Bank's Electricity Regulatory Index, which benchmarks regulatory environment across 43 countries with international best practice, have also experienced the fastest growth in electricity access. These countries include Egypt, Senegal, Kenya, and Ghana.
Africa stands at a pivotal moment on its aging energy. Despite the significant progress, Africa continent still faces an immense energy access gap due to insufficient electricity infrastructure. Achieving universal energy access, it is not just an aspiration, it is a necessity for sustainable development, economic growth, and improved quality of life for our citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, energy is not merely a utility. It is a fundamental foundation for our economies and societies. Sometimes we take it for granted and be satisfied as if it is enough when a part of a society has access to energy. Imagine the life for one day without energy, without electricity. And again, imagine the kind of life without electricity for 1 month. And again, imagine the kind of life without electricity for 1 year. And again, imagine the kind of life without electricity for the societies whereby that is the kind and the way of life for them. It is unimaginable. Access to reliable and affordable energy can drive economic growth, create jobs, empower our communities. Yet, as addressed today from different species, that over 600 million Africans remain without electricity, popping up a reminder of the challenges we face on electricity accessibility to our communities. To address these challenges, we must strive and put together our technical abilities and financial resources. And if we are to achieve the ambitious target laid out in our 300 mission, we must prioritize financing for energy sectors as one of the initiatives. Ladies and gentlemen, we call upon for all financial institutions to be forefront of these mobilization efforts. Both local and international financial institutions must play a crucial role in providing the capital necessary for energy projects to achieve our desired targets. We need to harness the power of development partners, commercial banks, and impact investors to finance large-scale infrastructure projects as well as decentralized renewable energy solutions.